Let's talk about ways to communicate or talk to your spirit guides. So there's a few key ones that I use and that I recommend beginners try. And I talk about them actually in my book, though in case you haven't already seen somewhere or heard somewhere, I wrote a book about spirit guides. It's called High Five Your Spirit Guides. And of course I have a copy for you here. So if anybody's interested, everything I'm talking about is in this book. But a few key ways to talk to your spirit guides. The first one that I use, and I use it every day, is writing or journaling. So I'm talking about simply taking a pen and a piece of paper and writing down a question. So find a quiet space, set your intention, always important. Don't have to light a candle or anything. I just do it in my recliner in the morning with a cup of coffee a lot. And say, are you here? Hello, are you here? And then the very next thought, without even thinking, just write down what comes to mind. And usually for me, it is, yes, we are. So that is a way to have a conversation. You can write questions, you can make requests, and then just go back and forth with your spirit guides. I actually have even played with it a few times using different colored pens to try to find out, how many spirit guides I had there. It's a good way to figure out their name. So you can literally ask, are you here? And when they say yes, you can say, what is your name? If you don't already know the name of your spirit guides. That's how I recently found out the name of my spirit guide, Melissa, was I asked a question through journaling, which is kind of funny because I have communicated with this spirit guide for a while, but had never been polite enough to ask their name. So now I know. I have a spirit guide named Melissa who's with me a lot, and we often converse through writing. So that's one way to do it. Another way to communicate with your spirit guides is through meditation. So, and I'm not talking about this big, elaborate, sitting on a mountaintop in the Himalayas meditation. It can be a simple minute, seconds, whatever, of quiet, where you focus your intention and you ask in your mind, basically, hello, are you there? But it can be elaborate. I mean, it can be as ceremonial as you would like. I actually have a small altar in my office here, and I usually sit at that. Sometimes I sit outside, but I usually sit at that, do my meditation. And I will light a candle. A candle color I would recommend for those starting out is white. You can use it because it's for clarity. So if you want to light a candle, it's safe to do so. Light a candle, sit down. I often burn incense when I meditate, different kinds of incense based on what I'm trying to do, but a good one is like sandalwood or patchouli or something like that. That helps if you're okay with that scent and it doesn't cause an allergic reaction or something or irritate your senses. But I'll burn incense a lot. And then I will close my eyes and I will take some deep breaths, focus on my breathing, and then I will start the conversation. And I don't speak out loud. I mean, occasionally I speak out loud to my spirit guides, but I can do it in my mind. I don't want to say imagination because this is not imagination. This is real. Spirit guides are a real thing. And if you are not familiar with the role they play in your life, this is going to be very much an awakening for you. So meditation is another way to do it. And then you can also use tools. So I actually use tarot cards to communicate with my spirit guides. And I recommend that if you are not familiar with tarot cards, it's, yes, do I have some? Yes, 1 second. I have some tarot cards. These are fun ones. You're going to like this. So these tarot cards are upside down. There we go. Are of cats. So basically what I do is I take a deck of the 78 tarot cards and I take out just the major arcana. And the major arcana are 22 cards that are from the Fool to the Universe or the World, depending on what kind of deck you're using. And I use those to communicate with my spirit guides because they're kind of the big concepts of the deck. So you can get a tarot card deck just about anywhere. You can certainly get them online. You can go to a metaphysical shop and they'll probably have dozens and dozens of different kinds of tarot cards and oracle decks, which are similar, to talk to your spirit guides with. And so what I do is I pull a card, one every day, and then I know kind of the answer to the daily question. I ask a daily question, what's today going to be like? And I ask my spirit guides, and they tell me through the major arcana card. So again, if you don't know the interpretations, tarot books are abundant, but and usually every deck comes with a little tiny booklet, so that'll give you a few clues to what that card means. But of course, I'm going to say it again, I wrote a book about it. And in here is a chapter that talks about just about those major arcana tarot cards and what your spirit guide would be saying to you, or would probably be saying to you if you picked a specific card. So that's another way to communicate with your spirit guides. And then there's a tool called the Pendulum. I use this occasionally. It's a metal thing at the end of a chain, pointy thing. That's very technical. It can be a crystal, it can be a piece of metal, and you can use that to ask usually yes or no questions. So once you, again, metaphysical shop online, you can usually find a pendulum. I like to do it at a metaphysical shop rather than online, because that way you can actually get a sense of how it feels in your hand. So you can try out different ones there in the metaphysical shop and use a pendulum. And that way you can literally ask a yes-no question. Sometimes they'll give you a maybe or even an I don't know, which is not always as fun as a clear yes or no. But your spirit guides can talk to you through pendulums. So those are some ways you can talk to your spirit guides. And what's cool is you're opening up a new form of communication, something you've probably never done before. Or if you have, hopefully these tools will give you other ways to talk to your spirit guides. But what I want you to do as a takeaway is to know that it takes time. Communicating with your spirit guides is a practice. And just like if you meet someone new in your life, it takes a little while to kind of find your rhythm to communicate with them and to build that relationship. So it's very similar to that. So I don't want you to think that you have to get it right, exactly right out of the blocks. You don't. It's okay to take your time. So I hope this helps. These are just some ways to talk to your spirit guides. And I appreciate you tuning in, and I will talk to you later. Bye.